next place I wanted to go, which I thought was interesting with Hillsong, is that, you know, you have your leadership team sign NDAs, and we protect all of your personal business, but everybody else's personal business is open for everyone to see, or to hear, or to talk about. I know in the first or second episode, one of the ladies was talking about how she had gotten pregnant, I think, as a young girl, and they made her go up in front of the church and talk about it. In the fourth episode, they talked about how, are we gonna do two separate things? Okay. They talked about how, you know, and Janessa kind of hit on it last week in the conversation. You know, they asked questions like, have you ever masturbated? Have you ever, you know, when's the last time you've had sex? When's the last time you watch porn? Those things. And it was funny because Carl Lentz, whatever, I can't say his last name, so I'm gonna call him Lentz, whatever. Pastor Carl was like, that was one of his first introductions to lying at church, because everybody else was lying, and so he lied as well. You know, where another lady was talking about, or two other people were talking about how they were being honest about it, and I didn't watch it all, so y'all tell me. I'm assuming this is what happened. And I guess they thought that they were going to be protected by the church, and they weren't. And I don't know if they were officially asked to leave Hillsong College because they were gay, or because they had masturbated, or whatever. But I do know, they said immediately after, or shortly after that conversation, they had to wear a red dot on their shirt to show everybody that they were struggling. And so even I was relating that in terms of, like, again, those NDAs. So we're doing criminal, ungodly behaviors. We'll protect these people. But these people here, we're going to put you on blast for everyone to see, that you're struggling. And we're all struggling. You know what I'm saying? And so, did you put a yellow sticker for the ones that lied? Like, what is it? Right. They struggling too, you know? Right. But, and I can't even remember the context in which we talked about that last week. But again, is that the church business to know? You know, is that, I know most of them were at school, you know, but is that the church business to know? Is it your business to know that I'm gay? Is it the business to know I had sex last week? Is it business to know that I struggle with porn, versus when I want to tell you because I'm searching for help? But when you tell me I can come as I am, which I feel like was one of Hillsong's taglines, come as you are, you know, when I can come as I am, then is that the churches need to know? Or is there a difference when you're trying to go to college and, you know, and study to be in ministry? Does that matter or not? So that was my next thing. It was just a dichotomy between how you protect the leaders, but then how you expose your members.
So I have two different thought processes, and y'all just gonna have to go with me. One, I'm trying to remember everything, but I don't know when exactly they started doing the questioning of the college students or whatever. But like, I don't know if it was after some of the scandal had broke out, or if that's just the practice that they've had from day one. But I do think it's interesting that, if memory serves correctly, this was kind of after scandal had broke out. And so it seemed like they were using the questions kind of as a way to filter and protect themselves in a different way. So like, yeah, because there's one guy, I think he was a drummer for Hillsong, and he was saying he was up for a tour. I think they were going to Indonesia, and they had pulled him aside, and they had brought to his attention, someone had mentioned a homosexual encounter. And he was just kind of like, he never spoke on that. He doesn't even know how anybody found out about it. But it wasn't even that he had engaged in a homosexual encounter. It was somebody at his previous church who had assaulted him or molested him. And they told him that he wasn't going to be able to go on that tour or any tours. And he said that from that moment, then he realized, like, he'll never make it any more higher than where he was as the drummer. And so it just kind of seems like in that regard, Hillsong took that line of questioning, or maybe not line of questioning, because we're not sure where the information came from, but used it to say, we're not going to have anybody with any type of past of homosexuality on this tour, so that no one can, no dirt can be smeared on anything we have. None of our band members, none of our singers, none of our kind of like that. But then to your point, Kellie, like, I think when you're doing that type of questioning and that type of NDA and that type of protecting, we already know that it's not protecting like the churchgoers, the everyday churchgoers. And these are probably maybe more arguably the more vulnerable group, malleable group. You can shape and mold them with your words and things like that, or actions, or even your power and prestige. But these are the people who are getting hurt, because like we said last week, at the end of the documentary, several people said they were atheists. They left the church. A handful of people, I think, maybe joined smaller churches, but it just does so much damage to people's outlook on Christianity, the church, God, Jesus, all of the above. And so I think where Hillsong, because they got a lot going on, they really did more damage with those NDAs and with that line of questioning than protected themselves, because here we are. Right. We still know everything. Maybe not everything, but we know a lot.
More than they wanted us to know.
Right. And so is it really worth it? And then I'll shift to the second point. It kind of ties in, and then I'll be quiet. But I have been thinking about, once I saw it, because they talked about how Hillsong was ran more so like a corporation, more than anything. And we've talked about that on this podcast, about churches being ran as businesses, because they are businesses, but then they're also this house of worship, this spiritual place or whatever. And with Hillsong, it just seems like they are more so about business more than anything. Like it's more business with a sprinkle of Jesus, or a sprinkle of God. Y'all just gonna have to see Theodore today. And it just seems like, where do you draw the line? Like, where is the line? Where churches get too big, that now we're having to do NDAs, and we got to do all this questioning, and we got to make sure our image can't ever be tainted. And where is the line? What does that look like? Does it have to do with who's in leadership? Does it have to do with, is your leader just money hungry, or is your leader truly appointed by God? Like, I don't know, because it just seems like there are so many, I wouldn't even just say mega churches, so many churches in general. And there are like laxed rules on and regulations when it comes to church. Of course, they are 503, or is it
501c3?
C3 status. So, a lot of people use churches, whether they're a real church or not, to deal with their money, whether it's cleaning money or just having tax-free money or whatever. There's a lot of people who use it to build a platform so they can springboard into other things and sell or whatever. Like, the true purpose of what church is and what leadership in the church is has definitely been minimized, I think, in today's age. And I just don't know, how do we pivot? And this is not something I'm saying we got to figure it out today. I'm just throwing out a question, like, how do we pivot from these business-minded, protect our image, protect our leadership mindset, to the point where it's detrimental to the actual congregants?
All right.
I don't know, but that's a lot. That's very long-winded of me. So go ahead, Rudy.
Well, for one, so even answering just your other question, Kellie, about like, is everything just say church business? Like when Pastor Carl cheating on his wife, like should that, be exposed to the church, or should they, keep it tucked or whatever? I think that you have to. So I understand completely why anybody, for that matter, no matter what position you're in, like if you have done some type of dirt, cheat on your wife, whatever like that, and especially if you got a platform, I understand why you would want to keep it a secret. Like who would want to walk around as being known as the person who, was unfaithful in their marriage, or even more so the pastor who fell from grace, using air quotes, or like or if like if you're speeding, nobody wants to get caught by the police, you know what I'm saying? Or if anything like that, I get why, why Adam and Eve tried to hide from God. You know what I'm saying? Like I get it. Like it's a fleshly move. It's a human, decision. But I think even more so, and we've definitely discussed this. And I don't know if it was a whole topic or not, but we've definitely these type of conversations have come up before in reference to like pastors being able to be honest about their humanity. I think that leading by example matters, and even tying it to the Hillsong College, where they're putting the stickers on the students as if they're giving them some type of like, conduct grade. Like here's a green sticker for the sin free, here's a yellow sticker for the, partially sinning, and here's a red sticker for the people who we deem, super sinful. I think doing that, but you as just say the instructor doesn't have a sticker on yourself is kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? Because like because now you're walking around unexposed yourself, but then want to expose others. And even if I had a sticker on myself, I don't think I would necessarily be passing out stickers, but I would once again lead by example and show like, hey, even me, like, I'm messed up out here. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm living, off grace and mercy, and and I thank God for his patience, and I thank God for, for allowing me to have time to get it right, and not just automatically deeming me to hell as soon as, a sin, is committed or whatever like that. Like I think taking that approach, and then allowing just say those students to feel like, okay, this is a safe space to just say confess our sins one to another, for the sake of, okay, now we can pray about it, or get you some therapy or whatever. Like, was there a resolve? You know what I'm saying? Because even a lot of times I know I've heard the argument, even just say in the Black community, about prisons and stuff. Like, is this supposed to be rehabilitating, or is this just punishment? You know what I'm saying? Like, like when this person gets back on the street, are they going to not commit any more crimes, or are they going to just continue the lifestyle of crime because all they did was just sit, in a cage? And so to me, putting stickers on the kids or whatever, or the students, the young adults, there's no rehab in that. Like, what's the follow up? You know what I'm saying? Like, and then even to Pastor Carl's point, like that was his first time lying in church. A lot of times when you're trying to expose somebody, you're just going to make them double down on sin. So not only I got whatever this sin is, but now I'm going to lie about the sin. You feel what I'm saying? And it's because, like, once again, who wants to deal with that judgment? It's one thing to be able to admit something to your best friend or whatever like that, because they're not going to judge me, and they'll help me. If anything, they'll love me through this. But a lot of times we don't want to say anything because you feel like it's gonna hurt you more than it can help you. And I think the sticker system definitely, I mean, obviously it was detrimental. I mean, it was grown adults talking about it on a documentary 30, years 40. Later. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like that was not, I don't even know why they thought that was a good idea in the first place. You know what I'm saying? But even So even going to like to Pastor Carl, like should his business be church business? Now, to me, I think Brian Houston and them, firing him and putting, and doing it the way that they did, just say for his downfall to happen, I think was almost similar to putting that sticker on him. So you just exposing him versus well, you are the pastor, and you have done something wrong, and we don't want to be dishonest about it, but let's figure out a way to present this where even if you end up not being the pastor anymore, we're not like disgracing your name on your way out. You feel what I'm saying? Like, I just think there's just ways to handle stuff, and that sticker system or that exposing system or that, that seems very contradicting, especially when, we all know the saying, when you point a finger at somebody, 3 pointing back at you. Like, Hillsong itself had more than 3 fingers pointing back at themselves. You know what I'm saying? To be trying to expose people. Right. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, the same grace that you want, that's why even God says, like, forgive even so that you can be forgiven. Like, cause you don't want to hold somebody else to the fire, but then beg God for forgiveness. Like it don't work that way. Like you need to forgive so that, your Father in heaven can forgive you. Like it's so even just operating that way with humans, I think is totally necessary. And exposing people, whether it's with a sticker or whether it's in the media, I think you'll do what, obviously, even in this situation, even with Pastor Carl and them, like I don't even know if they go to church now or not, but they are definitely different people. Even watching them on the Breakfast Club, like you can tell they're in a different place when it comes down to the church at large, versus, maybe they still got a relationship with God, believe in Jesus, whatever like that, but just the church at large, like, it almost can make somebody be in agreement with Ty Tribbett when he said the church is whack. You know what I'm saying? Because operating that way will make somebody be like, man, I ain't doing this no more. Like y'all tried it.
And it sounds like that's, again, I didn't get to the end, but it sounds like that's how many people felt. When Janessa was saying that a lot of people said they were atheists or they no longer go to church anymore, or they found something small, that's how they felt, that like, I'm just not doing this anymore, and like you said, when the church is supposed to be a safe space, and as you mentioned in college, like that's that, we're 17, 18, 19 years old. Like that's that transition year where I'm really trying to find myself, and out of all the colleges in the world, I choose this Christian college thinking that I'm going to get, like, and I love the word you use, this level of safety in who I am. And I come in and you ask me all of these questions that I know are against what the word says, and some people go to, I'm a lie because everybody else, so whoever that first person lied, you look at them like, I know you lying, and
It's
so
like when you play Never Have I Ever, and that person don't put their finger down, like
you be like, girl, I was with you.
That's
Girl,
why
put it down for
I was with you. But right, when you look at you like whatever, and so again, so like Pastor Carl said, he lied, I lied, they lied,
right.
I lied, where the other people, came in with such genuine, pure, as Janessa said, vulnerable spirits in a vulnerable place, and was honest, and then got, like you said, chastised for it. You give me a sticker, right? Like you gave me a grade on a report card, like, right. And I guess the difference is on a report card, only I see it, but you wanted me to walk around for the rest of the day or the next few days with this sticker on, right. Like it's the scarlet letter,
Right.
And so right then, at 17, 18, 19 years old, I mean, I know college changed my life forever, just in general, but I went in not really knowing what to expect, especially spiritually, but they went in hoping for this spiritual transformation, and I go in, and I get judged from the start, and I no longer feel safe, and so then how does that build? And I think that's the thing when you hear people, I know we've talked about this a lot, the difference between like, I'm spiritual but not religious. And I get when people say that, and I can definitely get, Hillsong people saying that. But the hard part with me is like, who's guiding your spirituality? Like, do you just have your own moral, ethical, spiritual compass, and you decide, for yourself what's right or wrong? Do you truly have a relationship with God? Are you able to hear him? Do you speak to him? Do you pause and make sure that he's speaking back and be able to hear? Like, what does that mean?
Right.
And so when people say that, I get it. And I always wonder, like, if there's some church hurt or something in there, or if it was just a church, traditional organized church services just aren't my thing. I don't know, but I often wonder, like, but there is power, there is guidance, there is wisdom in having a pastor or someone to lead you. And when you don't have that type of covering, what does that truly look like?
All right.
But I get it, for those of Hillsong that at 17, 18, like, I get it.
And I was just going to say, one thing I think I remembered was before or during the time when Hillsong was being kind of formed. I think it was Brian Houston came to the United States, and they said that he met with a lot of prosperity preachers. And I think that's like kind of where he got that, his brain started spinning. And then, went back to Australia and tried to implement some of those tactics over there. And it kind of just goes to show something. Like, I know we've talked about where was the heart at the beginning of the formation of the church, but it just really seems like there wasn't, or maybe the version in Brian Houston's head, or even Frank, his name was Frank, right? The daddy.
The daddy's Frank, yep.
Frank Houston. I don't know if it was the apple didn't fall far from the tree. I don't know if subconsciously Brian was picking up stuff that his father was doing, and it's just kind of kept it going. But it just doesn't seem like Hillsong, honestly, from the beginning, was built on real Christian principles and of leader, and had solid leadership from the beginning. And so it's just kind of was bound to fail. And it's really unfortunate and crazy just to see how it went from, its own little small church to this sprawling worldwide 150,000 people going to their 30 locations. And then such a big downfall. It wasn't like just one scandal. You had what was going on with Pastor Carl Lentz. You had the stuff going on with Frank, with the children. There was questions about the finances and the money, people feeling overworked. You had the college where people were being questioned and not able to participate in certain things depending on how they answer the questions. Like, it's a lot. So bless the people, cover them for real.
Absolutely.
Because it's just unfortunate that, a small group of people were able to do that much damage. And now, as Christians, part of the larger body, how do we, another question to think about is like, how do we rehab those people, if that's even the proper word? Like for the lady, I think it was the African American older lady, it was her and her daughter on the documentary. She said she wasn't stepping into a church on this side of heaven ever again. And it's like, when you get those type of strong comments, like, how do you reach those people's heart? Because they're just so hardened due to, like you said, church hurt, or just all of this that they've endured. So listen, Hillsong done wore me out.
So, and kind of to your question, I was just looking. Um, is there a Oh shoot, I lost y'all. Here we go. Is there a separation in things? So Hillsong worship now. So I think we all kind of talked about that was our introduction to Hillsong. Was there music? Again, not even realizing that there was a church. I don't even know how I happened upon this documentary, but um, but I didn't know there was a church until I happened upon this documentary. I can't even remember how I did that, but I'm not the biggest fan of like Christian music. But I'm not.
The worst one, right there.
I like gospel music. Let's talk about genres. So I like gospel music, Christian music. I'm not. Because when you're used to the gospel, the beat, the tempo, like Christian music sometimes to me is they don't have that beat in the background. They don't have a little, and I be looking for a little. It is true. And when I see it, so I used to go to this white church in Delaware, and that may have been the first time I was exposed to like something other than gospel music. And it was, when I tell you it was pure worship, like it was one of the most amazing things that because you weren't into the music and the beat and the tempo and all of that. It was just hands raised worship. And so it was a beautiful sight. I was like, oh, like what's happening? But I go to a church now that does, and it's a multicultural church, and they do a lot of Christian music. And sometimes I can get into it, and sometimes I can't. And I've often had to reflect on like, is it me? Like, am I going in? I'm just not open. Is it the praise leader and they're not anointed and they just up there singing and so I can't get into it? Is it the music? Like I often have to sit there and wonder, like, why can't I? And so, because and I think a lot of time is because I try to catch with the song. I like the song because of the whatever. And sometimes I can't catch it. So, anywho, but I say all that to say, do I not listen to Hillsong anymore? Am I able to separate the current, if they're still current, or even the old Hillsong? Because they got some bops now for sure. Like, do I still, now that I have all of this additional information, does that change the way I look at their music? Or am I able to separate it all? Am I able to, kind of like I said, I listen to the song, I feel the anointing in the song, and and I can connect with that and forget all of the background that comes with this. You know what? Pause real quick. In the 4th episode, did they talk about Brian Houston's son? Because didn't he have a part or something in this too with the music? Did he have a part? I remember them talking about it in the beginning. I don't know.
I don't think it's his son, but there was another guy, I think his name was Jeff or Geoff, who was instrumental in the music, and he knew that the
gray-haired guy.
He knew that the father had messed with kids. He was saying Brian knew that the father was messing with kids
way before him. I remember that part. I couldn't remember Brian Houston's son. I think Brian Houston's son was friends with Pastor Carl, and they said he did something with the music piece. I didn't know if he had but I wonder now, do I no longer, just like we no longer listen to R. Kelly. I don't know what we're doing with Diddy right now. We didn't separated ourselves from Diddy too. Do we separate? Do we separate ourselves from Hillsong music? What does that look like going forward for us? Are you able to separate, when you talk about Diddy and R. Kelly, are you able to separate the man from the music or the man from the mogul, or is it all in the same? Are you able to separate the music from or the music in the ministry from the ministers or the pastors, or is it all in the same? Like, what impact does it have kind of all together? Hey guys, sorry to interrupt, but we have a few church announcements. First, thank you all for listening, and make sure that you find us on YouTube at The Worst Ones Podcast. You can also find us wherever you find your podcast, Spotify, Google, Apple Podcasts. You can find us there at The Worst Ones Podcast. And when you get there, make sure you like, you comment, you subscribe, and you share. Thank you. Now back to the show.
To your last point, I mean, to be able to separate, I mean, it's a great question. You know, I mean, I've definitely had these conversations with people in reference to even just say the R. Kelly's, the Diddy's, or whatever. And of course, there's mixed emotions. Some people are like, yeah, man, you know, what you do, like your music ain't got nothing to do with what you do, you know, your personal life, or even in sports, you know, there's, you know, sports figures who have done things, you know, whatever, and they like, man, I don't care nothing about that, or I don't care about your political stance, or I don't care about it, whatever. Like, I just want to see you on the field or whatever. So that, I mean, that is a fine line to kind of teeter on. You know, I think because I mean, there's great gospel artists, old and young, you know, who maybe at some point in time, or even more recently, or whatever, you know, it's been exposed that, you know, they were homosexual. You know what I'm saying? Like, I didn't know this until maybe a couple months ago, but I was watching this podcast, like a Christian podcast, or whatever, and they were talking about Reverend James Cleveland. I've heard that name before. And how not only he was gay, but he's responsible for like turning out people, you know what I'm saying? Like, and making them gay as well. And like, and apparently this is like public knowledge. I didn't know. I don't, like, granted, I don't know much about James Cleveland besides a few songs that he's made and just, you know, knowing he was a big deal. But because it was on Tim Ross's podcast, and he was talking to, I believe it was the episode he was talking to what's the girl from Mary Tina is.
Oh, yeah, Tina, her husband. I think I saw a clip of that.
Yeah. I believe they were talking about it in that episode or whatever. And I'm like, so not only he was gay, but he was turning other like gospel artists and stuff, like turning them out. You know what I'm saying? Which is, you know, so then it makes you think. So, you know, now James Cleveland, he got bops. He got some, you know, some songs that can just say tear the church up. Do you still listen to his? You know, I mean, you know, Tone, you know what I'm saying? If you listen to Lord Make Me Over, if you really listen to those lyrics, he might have been coming out in that song. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was right. He was saying, you know my other side. I can no longer hide, you know. You know what I'm saying? But Lord Make Me Over is a bop though. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Now he's in a totally different genre of music now, and goes by a different name and all type of stuff.
Oh, what he doing now?
Something else, but he not Tone.
Oh.
Yeah, but so it's I think two things can be true. You know what I'm saying? I think somebody can be just living a sinful life, but also be used by God. I think when it comes down to just say like secular music, you know, that may be a different line to walk, because me still listening to R. Kelly and separating it from the man, I think it's a difference if I'm listening to I Believe I Can Fly versus, you know, Ignition or Age Ain't Nothing But a Number or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And I'm more or less speaking for Christians in your choice of music. I mean, if you out there, you out there. It is what it is. But I'm saying, I think there's a different versus like a artist or even a preacher who may have, because on the Breakfast Club interview, I didn't realize it, but apparently Carl Lentz had been on the Breakfast Club before, and even like DJ Envy had like a, you know, when I say personal relationship with him, like he knew him, because apparently like Carl Lentz had helped him, I want to say, with stuff in his marriage. You feel what I'm saying? So even though like he put his own marriage in jeopardy, he still helped somebody else with theirs who was in jeopardy. You feel what I'm saying? So it's kind of like two things can be true. Like you can, but I think there is a difference when your entire motive is, like Janessa has kind of been saying, like your entire motive is, let's get this money, let's build this church to get this money. Like when that's kind of your motive, and you're using Jesus, God, the gospel, whatever, as a way to get more money, that's when it's like, okay, let me separate myself from you. Versus you may be, you may not be living up to par yourself, but your motive when it comes down to helping people is still genuine. You feel what I'm saying? Because even with like in our church here in Tampa, we there's a pretty large like homeless community in the area, and so we interact with homeless people a lot, and I've had conversations with them, and they've kind of like talked to me about even the different shelters, whether you're talking about the Salvation Armies or whatever, or even there's one here that's called, they may be other places, but I know it's here in Tampa. It's a place called Metropolitan Ministries. And because of the conversations I've had with them about Metropolitan Ministries, it made me look up like who started it, what's, because I heard they've been like nasty to people, you know what I'm saying? And when I did my research, Metropolitan Ministries actually was started by like a collective of different churches that all came together and was like, yo, let's, help these people, help the homeless, et cetera, et cetera. But then at a certain point, just to kind of put in a nutshell and paraphrase, you can see where it became about money, and a lot of the churches that were involved left. Like they didn't want to be a part of what they had going on no more, because this was no longer about helping people. It was about, it was about the funding, like getting the donations, getting the government assistance, getting like all of that type of stuff, so that they could fund their own pockets while they still so-called help the homeless, which, like I said, which made a lot of the other churches kind of part ways, and no longer want to be a part of it. And it, just when stuff like that happens, that's what makes you want to then not trust somebody or back away or whatever like that. It's a difference between, my pastor who's authentic in his intentions cheating on his wife versus the person who hired my pastor being faithful to his wife, but his only motive was to use all of us and even possibly use the pastor to try to, build his own pockets. So to me, I mean, I've never heard of Brian Houston sermon, nor have I heard a Carl Lentz sermon, but I would be more prone to listen to a Carl versus a Brian because even just intentionality. You know what I'm saying? I would be more prone to listen to a Mike Todd over a Brian Houston because of intentionality. Like, does Mike Todd go overboard in some of his examples and whatever like that? And, I've seen him bring like a trampoline into his church, and people say, oh, that's too much. Why he flipping and stuff on the trampoline? Or like we talked about before, him pouring syrup on the Bible and the church stuff, or him putting the spit on his brother's face or whatever like that. But like if you as a human just may go too far in your attempt to help people, I think I can separate that versus you're literally just blowing smoke because your ultimate intention is your own personal gain. That I can't separate. And I don't judge you. I don't condemn you to hell, but I also won't be involved with you as far as following you, listening to your stuff, or whatever the case may be.
Gotcha. Nope, I agree with that. That makes sense. No, we went all off topic from exploring past sins, but
But yeah, I mean, and even
not really.
Not really.
Not really. Yeah. So
Yeah, I just think with that just goes to just leading by example though. Like you can't be trying to expose everybody else, but hide your own
Right.
stuff.
Right. And I think that's the theme of both topics, I guess if you will. Like, right, you can't expose everyone else, but then sign NDAs for all of your stuff. Like,
Right.
then keep then on a very basic level, when I tell you something, keep myself secret. On a basic level, but you want to expose me.
Right.
You know, I get pregnant at 18, 19, 20. I got to stand in front of the church and talk about why I got pregnant or how I got pregnant. You know how I got pregnant. Like
we don't need to talk about the birds and the bees.
You got 5 kids is the way I got pregnant.
You know how I got pregnant. So yeah. So no. So I so I disagree with that. But I do, again, I feel like, to your point, I do see where it is helpful for pastors to live a life of transparency. We all sin, we all fall short, but to be transparent. And I remember one part of season 4 or episode 4, when Brian Houston had made the announcement that he was stepping down while the court proceedings were going on. And the journalist or whatever was like, he thought that, he was surprised that he did that, just considering Hillsong's background, that he had stepped down. Again, I didn't finish it, so I don't know what happened. I will finish it. But yeah, but I do get that there is some type of transparency that pastors have a responsibility to hold. I feel like, right, getting in front of stories that it feels is better that, right, if one of your deacons murdered someone and it's going to be on the nightly news, before Deacon Billy Joe Johnson is on the nightly news, let's go ahead and, let everybody know, or address it on the Sunday after, or, or whatever. But even then, like you said, not in a space where we are tearing you down for what you did, but continue to, to pray for his spirit. But yeah, like I said, same thing with my young kid, he need prayer too, covering too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think the Diddy's, the R. Kellys, that they all need prayer. You know what I'm saying? Not only even just for themselves, but even for just say, like, if for whatever reason R. Kelly got out of jail or whatever, just like that, there's no more victims that will suffer as a result of him being back out on the streets. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the people in jail, if they're just sitting there, but there's really no rehab, like for some people, jail ain't really your thing. Like you could get, you could have unpaid parking tickets and go to jail and be like, I'm finna pay every last one of these because that little 24 hours I spent in jail was the worst day of my life. You know what I'm saying? Like, but then you got some people who, like, I remember growing up, like when I was a teenager in Tampa, and like the girl I was dating at the time, like her cousins and brothers and stuff, like these was guys that was in the streets, and like they talked about jail and prison like it was a vacation. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh yeah, I can go do a quick 3, or I can go do a year and a day, or I can go, and like, and they just, I mean, they made jail sound sweet, like it was nothing. Like, that little 3 years would go by fast, and you'll go right back to doing the same thing, and a lot of them did. You know what I'm saying? And it's
in there doing the same thing.
They in there
because they're in there doing the exact same thing. They already got cousins, uncles, brothers, friends, other gang members already in there. They all got their own little criminal activities and whatever going on in the jail. They in there doing the same thing.
Yeah. And it's no, even that movie with The Rock, Gridiron Gang. I don't know if you ever seen it. But he was like, but he was The Rock. It was based on a true story. But he was like a football. Well, he worked at a juvenile detention center, and they basically ended up creating like this football program for the kids to kind of like help them get on a positive track or whatever. But I remember even in that movie, I don't remember the exact statistics, but they would say the statistics, and basically it was way more kids that would return back to jail once they got out from their program, or even end up dead. versus once they started the football program, it still wasn't 100%, but the numbers shifted a lot. So a lot of those kids were able to get out, go then play for their local high school, get a scholarship, go to college, whatever like that, because it gave them something to work towards versus them just sitting in that little, detention center for a couple months or a year or whatever it was, then get out. They go back to their old gangs, go back to their old neighborhoods, go back to what you know.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's still no change. And I feel like go ahead.
No, I was gonna say to follow on that, the school to prison pipeline. A lot of times before they get of age, or even juvenile detention centers, or they get of age to go to jail, to go to prison, these are the students, these are the people who are getting kicked out of school. They're going to alternative school. And I asked one time, I was on a discipline committee at my high school. I said, I can't say this word, but recidivism rate. I know what I'm trying to say. Like how often they go to alternative school for 6 months, they go to alternative school for a year, for a few months, how often do they go back? And I can't remember the exact numbers, but it was high. When I was asking the person over discipline for the entire county, I'm like, because what are we really doing to change that behavior? You go to alternative school, you go to prison with all these people who I won't call them bad people, but who have made bad decisions. But what have we really done to change the course of their behavior, to change the course of their life? If not, like you said, they come back home, but they go back home every night to their environment anyway. They come back to the same school doing the same thing, and they're going to get the same results. So I just wanted to add that into what you were saying.
No, for sure.
Yep.
No, for sure. But I did want to ask this, just something that you said real quick, Kelly, when you was like, if Deacon so-and-so murdered somebody, like, and then we basically talked to the church about it before they find out about it on the news or whatever. What if, let's say, like, the pastor of the church finds out that Deacon so-and-so has murdered somebody, but it's not going to hit the news because, just say he didn't get caught for whatever reason, but he or she or whoever comes is like, yo, I done offed whatever, blah, 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 blah. Like, do we keep that a secret?
Yes. Yes.
Because if you tell the church, they might go report it.
You keep that a secret.
And not Deacon jail.
Deacon Johnson, we gonna keep that because right. So I guess the moral dilemma or the ethical dilemma would be, does the pastor tell the police? Not that there's an obligation to tell the members, no, but do they tell the police? Right. Would be the thing, because I can't come and tell the church and I ain't told. I ain't told the same thing with Pastor Houston. Right. I can't go and address the church that I ain't told, and I haven't told the police. But even on something smaller, that isn't criminal activity to that degree, but something egregious. No, I don't think it's the church's business. And honestly, and maybe you address it after the fact, or maybe you don't address it at all as a pastor. If it hits national news that whatever killed somebody, it may be just as simple as keep Deacon your prayers. Or maybe you don't say anything at all because, like you said, church gossip is real, but that may only be 20% of the population that knows what happens. Once you say it in the church, and everybody gonna go, Willie Joe Johnson, what he do? We Googling right there in the middle of the ceremony, like, oh, what he do?
Right.
And I guess the church don't want to keep up that type of mess either. And so maybe you don't. Maybe you just talk about it with the deacon board. Maybe you don't address the whole church. I don't know. That's a hard one. Or maybe you like I said, just talk about it with the deacon board or your leadership team. And so if people have questions, this is what you say.
Right.
We're not going to address it all together, but this is what you say if someone comes to you about it. Because that's hard. I take that back.
I mean, but do you even let Deke stay in the church? What if he feel like killing again?
Yeah,
he might kill somebody in the church.
He can stay. He still can't. He can't be no deacon, but he can stay. Well, we got to figure out why he killed the first person. Why?
What I'm saying. Like,
we got to get the details. Now, if he's just walking in the space,
leave an absence for his
from the church.
from his role.
From his role, absolutely. But does he have to lead a church too?
I don't think he has to leave the church, but I think that he probably would leave the church depending on, because you know people at church gonna talk, and it's gonna be a everyday, every Sunday thing. So maybe for his own sanity.
Williams, you know he killed such and such. Right. And there go his wife too.
Right.
And his wife killed. And his kids. Right. You know how we act.
Right.
You know, he got 2 kids. His son, and you know, little Billy, he was doing real well. And then all of a sudden he started having behavior issues at school. I heard it failing. Like
because his daddy.
Right. He just like his daddy.
Yeah. For me, if he was murdering people, I would. It ain't got to do with his position. Like, you got to go. You especially like you said. No. You didn't come like that. You was already here and then killed somebody. I don't know what's on your mind. I might be next. You feel what I'm saying?
We may have to do a little pat down before he come in. Like
I might be next. Like I said, if you done cheated on your wife, or even let's say you came out gay, anything like that. Now we're talking about position, leadership, whatever, blah blah blah. But you done killed somebody, then you got to go.
Lord Jesus, yeah, I don't want to go to Pastor Rudy church.
all our life is in danger. We don't know what D got playing up.
You need to make sure you stay on the good side. You be supportive. Right. You put some money on his books. You, what is it? J mail him, J
pay,
J pay him.
I'm trying to tell you.
Okay.
All right, Janessa, you got your jewels?
I do. Let's scoot back. So this week's more so a reminder for most of our people, and if you've never heard this, then this will be your first time hearing it. But real simple this week is keep trusting God. So Theodore and I have many adventures over here, and I've learned so many God lessons through having Theodore. And one of them is that Theodore's an indoor cat. We sometimes sit on the back patio. I'll either carry him in my arms, or he has a little harness and a leash, and we'll go out that way. But mainly for safety, there's other cats and animals and things like that. So I just want to be able to quickly grab him if I need to. And but one thing he's been doing lately is he has been running out the back door, and it's been giving me a panic attack because there's like woods behind my house where I've seen raccoons, armadillos, I think they're armadillos, deer, all sorts of things back there, and it's very wooded. And the first time he did it, I had to honestly debate if I wanted a cat or not, because if he did go back there, I didn't know if I personally could go back in that forested area at night. And just pray he would come back home. But Theodore, for whatever reason, keeps running out, and I'll do my best to block his path, and he does gymnastics and gets out the door. And of course, like I said, the whole reason I want him to not do that is because of the dangers. And I was thinking, man, isn't this what God does with us? He knows the dangers that are out in the world, but we just keep going for it, not knowing the dangers that are seen and unseen. And it just kind of gave me a new perspective and a kind of a new revelation just to see it in my own lifestyle, how many things I know I've done. Of course, here he comes. The things that I've done because I wanted to, or I didn't see that it was an issue, or didn't see the danger that was there, but God knows all these things. And so it's just really helped me to trust God more. Even especially when I can't see it or it doesn't make sense, when the Bible talks about God is really working things out for our good, he truly is. And the things that he doesn't want us to get involved in is truly protection. So I just wanted to share one of me and Theo's, life stories to keep trusting God. Now tell the people to keep trusting God. All right. Thank you. And you stop going out. You stop running.
You go, yeah. That's good. That's good. That's deep. The fact that even the story of how you got Theo, and then the fact that he, that he giving you words from the Lord.
He do. Y'all might be getting a few gems, jewels for Theo in the upcoming weeks.
I take them all. Write them down.
Y'all keep babysit though. Y'all can come babysit.
I'm allergic.
Allegra.
She said that so fast.
Man, cats mess me up.
Allergy shots.
Cats mess me up.
One of y'all gotta come get y'all nephew and babysit.
Allergic.
I'm gonna be busy. I'm gonna be busy on the grill. Her little baked beans be done by then. She can.
They good too, honey.
I'm be busy on the grill.
Dang, y'all. It's still private. At Princess Scale 51. I feel like I don't even know why. I feel like you take mine off like you take Rudy's off. Like you took yours off. At Princess Scale 51. Still private. I feel like I haven't gotten any requests lately.
Did you?
Nobody want to follow me no more.
Did you post stuff from the trip yet?
A little bit. I posted a little bit.
Those of y'all.
Huh?
I said you were cute in your pink.
Thank you, girl. Yeah, I post a picture of myself like once a month. People always like, oh, there you go. I post everything else on my trip all around, and then I give you one little headshot about once a month, once every 2 months, just to let y'all know I'm still here behind the camera.
Pop out.
Right. I was cute too.
She was.
Those of y'all who are already in the club, y'all enjoy those photos.
I said I'm about to make me a close friends too. I had posted another one. I said this is why I'm private. So it was a bachelorette party, and so the theme of bachelorette parties are this your last same forever. And so there was a lot of explicit things and themes going around. And so I had posted kind of the setup, and somebody wrote back like, "Oh, y'all freaky," and I was like, "Oh, my church people follow me. Delete. I need a close friend." I said I still got a couple church folks, but I let it in just a few. Delete. It's not me. This somebody else's party. I didn't even think about it as I was just in the room. Right. And they went deep on some stuff too. But again, I'm just their party. I didn't think about it. Then I was like, oh no, never mind. I got to make me a close. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for letting me know. I'm gonna step back, delete, and make me a close.
This why I don't post right here.
Right. This is why I don't post. This is why I'm private.
Lord have mercy.
You can find me at J Rihanna. We have fun over there. I think I have some more
double underscore.
J Rihanna double underscore. Yes.
I can't tell you yours.
I think I have some more garden stuff up, but we're rocking and rolling. So come have fun with us.
There you go. And of course, our producer at Risa _G. Follow her. You can see parts of her child, right. Not the face.
The stroller.
Yeah, man. That is it for us. We appreciate you guys as always for liking our stuff, sharing our stuff, watching our stuff. And if you haven't, do so. All right. Do so. Share it, please. Share it with at least 25 people. And ask them to follow and subscribe and all that as well. You can do the audio, you can do the video. Either one we would greatly appreciate. Do both. Why not? And if you are catching this during our Suits era, welcome. Welcome. This is from the past, but we appreciate you in the future. All right. Yeah. So we are the worst ones. And until next time, we are.